Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to tell you guys my thoughts on Marvel's Avengers Endgame. So if you want to know what I thought about it, then just stick around. Oh my gosh, Endgame happened. That was real. That was a thing. I've seen it 4 times now, and every time it gets emotional. And I'm gonna tell you guys right now, there will be spoilers in this video, so if you keep watching and you haven't seen the movie, that is your own dang fault. You cannot get mad at me because I told you that if you haven't seen this movie, you should stop right now and come back later, because I will be talking about what happens in this movie because that's what I want to do right now. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it, then come back and we can talk. If you have watched it, let's get into Endgame. Oh my goodness. I cried every single time. I mean, it got easier for me because I knew what was going to happen and I could brace myself for it, but every single time I cried, at least 3 times. I mean, when Natasha died, when Tony died, and at Tony's funeral, I lost it. I lost it every single time. But I also laughed a lot. Personally, I think I cried more during this movie than I did Infinity War, but I cried more after Infinity War than Endgame. In Infinity War, I was in such a state of shock that I didn't really feel any emotions until Peter got dusted, Peter Parker. And then I cried for hours after because I just couldn't believe what happened. But I cried less after this movie because I feel like the endings that everybody got, I feel like they were well-rounded. I had wished that they had been happier, but I understood why they were the way that they were. And some of them, I kind of wish I could change. Well, I wish I could change all of them, really, but, well, I don't know. I felt at peace. I felt at peace with the end of this movie. I felt like that was a good ending. I felt satisfied, and I liked it. There were some things that I didn't like, though. I wasn't that big of a fan of Bruce and the Hulk being the same person at the same time. I wish that they had found a different way to cooperate instead of that. I thought it was really funny at the beginning, and I came to understand why at the end. And I'm okay with it now, having seen it 4 times. But it wasn't my favorite thing. And also Thor. Yeah, no, I'm not feeling it. Like, I've accepted it. It happened. I can't change it. That's how the world is now. But, not my favorite. It was hilarious the first time. And then it just kind of got weird and dumb. I don't know. Not my favorite thing. Also, a rat, really. A rat is what gets Scott out of the quantum realm. So there were parts of it that I didn't like. But I really did like the majority of it. Like 95% of the movie I was in love with. Some of my favorite moments were, I could do this all day. Yeah, I know. I love that. I really didn't like Hell Hydra. I hate that he had to say it, but it worked. But whatever. Hate it. I really loved the moment when Steve uses the hammer, like when he summons it, and you're just like, yes! Oh my goodness. The first time I went and saw it, everybody in the audience started cheering. It was fantastic. And Avengers Assemble, it was great. I loved it so much, and I loved the Love You 3000 and the whole Peter talking with Tony, and I loved the reunion. I loved how a lot of storylines seemed to come full circle, and there was a lot of character development and healing in this. I also really liked how long it took Tony to be okay with Steve again. I felt like it was necessary, and I really appreciate that they took the time and didn't just force them back together again because of necessity. They gave them the time to heal and to move on. And then once they had moved on, once Tony had moved on, all was good and forgiven and even better than before. I do think that Natasha's storyline was very well-rounded. I knew it was going to be Natasha that fell, since I knew that those two were going to Vormir, is that how you say it? I liked the balance in her storyline, and Clint's storyline. I liked their banter. I hated that she died, but I liked the way that it was handled. Same with Tony. I hate that he died, but I liked the way that it was handled. That one, okay, no, the way that Tony died, that one hit so close to home. I I can't really talk about Tony, because it brings back memories of real life experiences that I'm not gonna talk about right now, because if I talk about it, I'm gonna cry, and I'm not gonna do that right now. So, if I talk very little about Tony, know that it's not because I don't like him. I adore Tony. He's one of my favorites ever. But I can't. Personally, I can't do that. I can't do that. So I'm not gonna. I do want to keep this relatively short, but you know I had to talk about it. What kind of a video would it be if I didn't talk about Bucky Barnes? I'm not the only one that thinks this, but there was not nearly enough Bucky Barnes in that movie. Yeah, I get it. All of the other characters were kind of just like subplots, okay? Yeah, still, there were so many reunions on the battlefield. Literally, all I wanted from Steve and Bucky was just like a touch on the shoulders, or maybe like a nod, eye contact. I needed eye contact. I needed Steve and Bucky to know that they were there, that Bucky was back, that Steve was happy, and that they were going to talk after. I needed a reunion after the battle. I needed them to like reconnect, but instead what I get is Bucky saying goodbye to Steve. And can we also just talk about the whole Bucky is alive thing? And it worked. It worked, okay? He needed to distract himself, and he said Bucky is alive, and it worked, okay? Anybody who thinks that Bucky is not important to Steve, let's just think about that for a moment. I went to go see this movie with my dear friend Lauren, and the ending scene when Sam approaches Steve and Steve gives him the shield and basically says, "You're the new Captain America." Dear sweet Penny turned to me and was like, "You're not happy about that, are you?" But here's the thing. Initially, I was not. I did not like it. I mean, I totally called it, that Bucky was not going to be the next Captain America because he is underappreciated. But upon reflection and watching it 4 times, I've come to the conclusion that even though it was not seen, and I wish it had been seen, I do think that Steve and Bucky had a conversation, because come on. Why say in a whispered tone, might I add, "I'm gonna miss you"? Why even mention missing anybody at all when it's time travel and they can be back in 5 seconds? Why say it's gonna be okay back if you're gonna see him in 5 seconds his time? He's not gonna have done anything except stand around. Why have that exchange at all if you didn't know that your best friend was going to stay in the past? So I'm 100% a believer that Steve and Bucky had a conversation, that he told Bucky that he wasn't going to come back, that if he could find Peggy and be with Peggy, he was going to be with Peggy, and I think Bucky gave his blessing. I don't think Bucky was happy about it, but I think Bucky gave his blessing. And I kind of think that maybe Steve might have asked him if he had wanted to come back in time, but I also do think that Bucky, being who he is, not just James Buchanan Barnes and not just the Winter Soldier, but being a mixture of both of them, he probably didn't feel he belonged in the past anymore. He probably felt that he was needed here and he needed to stay here for himself anyway. And I do think that they had a conversation about who the next Captain America was going to be. And I kind of think that Steve offered it to Bucky. I mean, there was even that part. Sam looks at Bucky being like, And Bucky's just like, yeah. And Bucky sent him to go talk to Steve, okay? He sent him to go get the shield, basically. And he looks at him, and then Sam literally says, I feel like it's somebody else's. I don't think he was talking about Steve. I feel like he had a firm grasp on the fact that Steve was not going to be Captain America anymore. And if he was passing on the shield to anybody, I think that Sam felt it should have been Bucky. But I think that Steve and Bucky talked about it, and that they both decided that Sam should be the next Captain America. And so that's why I'm okay with it, because I think that Bucky had a part in Sam becoming the next Captain America. Now, I'm not saying I don't think he's ever going to be Captain America, because in the comics, he is Captain America eventually, but so is Sam. And you're in Carter, but we're not talking about that right now. So I think that Bucky basically said, I'm not ready for that kind of responsibility yet. I really need to find myself and do my own thing. But I appreciate the offer, and I feel like they talked about it, and that is why I am okay with the ending. And I just really hope that old Steve comes back and him and Bucky are talking. And also, can we just like talk about how old Steve is? He's probably well over 100 years old physically, because he woke up 70 years, probably frozen still in his 30s. But then it was like 10 years later, then he goes back to the 40s, and then he lives that 60-ish years again. So he's probably well over 100 years old, and he looks like he's 70. I think his super soldier serum, while some people say it made him immortal, sort of, probably didn't make, well, obviously it didn't make him immortal, he's old, but it probably did slow down his aging quite a bit. So I'm pretty hopeful that we'll see more of him later, and that him and Bucky can have some more moments. Yeah, I am satisfied with the way things ended. I do have some questions, like, one, how did Steve get all those stones back? Because they were in different forms. And how does he give the Soul Stone back? And what happened when he saw Red Skull? That's what I really, really, really want to know. Also, what's going to happen with Vision? What's going to happen with the Time Stone? And all that jazz. Ned. Did Ned get snapped? Did Ned get dusted? Because why is he still in high school if he didn't get dusted? He should be like 20. Also, Loki. So if any of you guys can answer those questions, that'd be great. Personally, I have it tied with Infinity War in my bracket. I really, really liked it. There were some parts that I didn't totally vibe with, and there were some parts that left me questioning. But I liked it. My survival kit worked. I didn't need to use all of it, and I felt at peace at the end of this movie. That is it for this video this week. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below some thoughts that you had about Endgame. If there's anything that you wanted to discuss with me that I didn't discuss in this video, please let me know down below. Also, go check out my other socials, and we can chat over there about Endgame as well. And also, if you haven't, please subscribe and click the notification bell so that you can be notified when I post new videos. And I hope you guys do that and stick around, because I'm going to Detroit. And so next week is going to be my Detroit vlog. And so you guys are going to be able to see all of my fun adventures in Detroit. And so, yeah, stick around for that. And I will see you guys soon. Bye. Get out of here, Batman.